Welcome into another edition of the Cameron and Cade podcast. A lot to get to this week as every sport is back. Baseball has been gone. We'll talk about that in the end a little bit, but we'll start it out with Bobby Knight. Rest in peace to a legend. You can't bring up the history and all of just college basketball in general, and basketball as a game in general without Bobby Knight, a.k.a. the General. 3 titles with Indiana. Famously threw the chair across the court. He coached in the Olympics. He was notorious for being the first to really recognize how talented Michael Jordan was. As like going into the draft, he was telling the Trailblazers that they should not pick Sam Bowie. They should take Michael Jordan. And they were like, "How are we going to play the 5? Or who are we going to have play the 5?" And he was like, "Just put Michael there. It's fine." And so he was bought in on MJ. Knew he was going to be what he ended up being, just a legend. Some all-time quotes from him. The famous one that a lot of y'all probably know is the "When I die, bury me upside down so critics can kiss my," you can fill in the blank. And then there was another legendary, if the NBA was on Channel 5 and frogs were making love on Channel 4, I'd turn it to Channel 4 even if it was coming in fuzzy. And then one of his other great ones, when one of his players got drug tested for some great performance or something, he said, "If I was a drug test, I'd drug test all you B words, not just the athletes." So yeah, just an all-time legend, Hall of Famer, no doubt. And honestly, you could argue a top 3 college basketball coach of all time. I think when you're talking about that argument, it's Adolph Rupp. It's Dean Smith, Coach K, Bobby Knight, a couple others, but that's just to name a few. So, I think he's in the conversation of top 3 ever. And just what he did for the state of Indiana, what he did for college basketball, it's crazy. And, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of bad and a lot of, all this just crazy stuff that he had done. But I think once someone's life comes to an end, you need to mention all the good and what he did for basketball. I mean, he really changed the game of basketball when it comes to just motion offense. And he just really adapted the thought of all 5 players moving at the same time. And that's obviously what the NBA, what all of basketball is now. So it's props to him because that's his work at the end of the day. So yeah, it's a sad loss for any basketball fans in America. Just rest in peace, Bobby Knight. Praying for his family. They're all doing well. But speaking of that, college basketball is back. So this will be going up Wednesday, November 8th. But it started Monday, November 6th. So we'll start it out with women's. We had a shocking upset day 1 of women's basketball being back. Number 1 LSU coming off a championship loses to number 20 Colorado, 92-78. First defending champion to lose season opener the next year since 1995. So it's crazy. It's a shocking loss. I mean, LSU brought all their girls back from that team last year, it felt like. And then they brought in Haley Van Lith, who was, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I know everything about women's basketball, but she had to be one of the most sought-after transfers. So it's a shocking loss. They lost that one in Vegas. They'll be fine. I mean, with how talented they are, how deep they are, they'll figure it out. They'll be fine in the long run. One girl I need to mention, though, buy stock in Malaysia Full Wiley. She plays for South Carolina. She's a true freshman right now. She's from Columbia, so she's homegrown. They played in Paris versus Notre Dame. Nasty. If y'all haven't seen her, go look up the highlights. She's literally, I mean, Kyrie, John Wall. She's got insane court vision. She's super crafty. She's just fun to watch. So if y'all haven't seen her, go look up her highlights from that game, and she'll put the nation on watch here soon if she's not already done it. Crazy game from her, and then dominating performance for South Carolina women's. So I think for South Carolina's fan base, have shifted from football season to basketball now. So good win for the Gamecocks there. On the men's side, we also had a massive upset. Number 4, Michigan State lost in East Lansing to James Madison, 79-76. So James Madison, obviously, they're 9-0 in football. Can't play in a bowl game because of the whole switching divisions and everything. But yeah, that's the place to be right now. James Madison won 79-76 in overtime. They're good though. Like James Madison is legit, but if you're Michigan State there, with how deep they are, you can't lose those games. That is very familiar for Kentucky fans because it's a lot like the Evansville loss of 2019. So I think Michigan State will be fine. They're deep enough. They brought back nearly the entire roster other than Hauser from last year, and then they brought in the greatest recruiting class Tom Izzo's ever had. So it's just, I think, gelling together. A.J. Hogard was out of it all first half. Tyson Walker played really well, but he's not going to be able to carry the team. So I don't know. That's just my thought. Michigan State will be fine though in the long run. One other note: Grant Nelson at Alabama. He was obviously one of the highly recruited transfers out of North Dakota State. He had a nasty poster. If you haven't seen that, look that one up. Crazy. It was a good debut for him for Alabama against, I think they played Morehead State. So that was a good start to the season for Alabama. But now, Kentucky basketball, we had our first game versus New Mexico State. New Mexico State is honestly one of the most it's just a cool story in sports because they have not brought back a single player from last year or a single coach from last year. So it's a completely new roster. And in the first half, they kind of hung with Kentucky a little bit. It was kind of close. I think we were up 10-15 at half, and then we kind of blew them out of the water. In the second half, won 86-46. But the takeaway for me is we had 5 players in double-digit points-wise. So had a couple guys with 9, a couple with 7. Spreading the wealth is definitely a huge part of it. And, Antonio Reeves was missing shots that he'll definitely be able to hit all year. That's just kind of, I don't know, first game. I don't know if it's first game jitters, whatever, but Rob was fun. Reed Shepherd, obviously, crazy debut for him with his parents there to watch. And it feels like when he gets the ball, it's like the entire state feels like a proud father. Like we're just absolutely ecstatic to see the man on the court. But, yeah, it's just this team's going to be a lot of fun. DJ played really well. It's honestly unfair having Robert Dillingham and Reed Shepherd coming off the bench. It's crazy. But this team, we didn't necessarily need a big last night, but Trey Mitchell, I think he ended up with 6 boards, maybe 7. But this team with a big, with Zvonimir Visic, Aaron Bradshaw, Ugonna Onyenso, any of them, this team is dangerous. With a rim protector, with just a man just to get boards, just fill up space, be able to guard 7'1" Hunter Dickinson. Yeah, this team would be scary. But this team is going to be a lot of fun. They're very quick. Whole lot of ball movement. They seem like they love playing with each other. Man, it's gonna be a fun year. I'm excited for this roster, and once everybody's fully healthy, this is gonna be a team I think personally to watch out for going into March. But it's gonna be a blast this year in Lexington, and I'll mention Kentucky basketball at the end of this podcast too, because it's big news out of Lexington. But a team that's actually picked ahead of them to win the SEC is Tennessee. So Cade's not here this week. But Tennessee, obviously they've been a team consistently top 10, top 15 in the country defensively. This year they got offense. So they have the transfer from, I think it was USC Upstate, the point guard. And then the highly sought-after Dalton Knecht from Northern Colorado. Kentucky reached out to him. Multiple schools did. Tennessee ended up getting him. He's just tough. That dude's a gamer. He's going to be very, very good. In the exhibition that they had versus Michigan State, obviously he had the crazy dunk, a couple threes here and there. This game he also did the same thing. And they held, I think they were playing Tennessee Tech. They held them to 42 points. So it was impressive defensively. Their defense just looks crazy again. And they brought everybody back. Vescovy, still there. Ziegler, still there. Josiah Jordan-James is still there. So, I don't know what Rick Barnes tells these guys, but he just keeps guys for 35 years. And, none will stay longer than Fulkerson. But, yeah, they have the veteran presence. They have the offense this year. So, that's a scary team. I've seen people pick them as their preseason Final Four, as a Final Four team. So, it's looking up in Knoxville basketball-wise as well. NBA, Victor Wembanyama, you may have heard of him. He had 38 and 10 to help the Spurs knock off the Suns in Book's first game back. But they won back-to-back games versus the Suns. Wemby's 38 points were the third most points as a rookie in the Spurs organization's history. I'm pretty sure the other two was David Robinson and Tim Duncan. So it fits. Also, Wemby is the second person to ever have 100 points and 10 blocks in their first 5 career games. It's him and a young man by the name of Shaquille O'Neal. So great company for Wemby to be in. LeBron, though, he scored the most points in a game by someone in year 21. He had 35 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists versus the Clippers. LeBron has had 81 30-point games since turning 35. This man has withstood the test of time. Father Time did not capture him. It's just impressive. If LeBron's able to stay healthy, like that scoring record will actually become untouchable. Like it's going to be unreal if he stays healthy. The Celtics look like possibly the best team in the NBA right now. The Celtics beat the Pacers 155-104. The Drew Holiday edition and the Kristaps Porzingis edition seem like those were the best moves the Celtics could have made. Celtics scored their most points in a game since 1959. But Kristaps and Drew are doing exactly what they needed. And like I said a couple podcasts ago, Drew Holiday is bringing everything that Marcus Smart had, but with offense. So it's terrifying for anybody that's rooting against them, I guess. And the NBA in-season tournament has started. So I'm just like the NBA players. They've asked the NBA players, are like, so thoughts on this? And they're like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know if this is like a consistent thing. It's just going till like the middle of December, or if there's like an in-season game and then a regular game. And then I don't know if they go towards the overall record. I don't know. But they brought out the courts for the first time that we mentioned last week. The Pacers was a brutal watch, brutal to the eyes. I liked the court, the mock-up of it. But on live television, that's a tough one. Tough to watch. It's just bright blue. It's like a powder blue. And then yellow stripe down the middle. So it's tough. But the courts either look like amazing or absolutely ugly. And there's no in between. It's crazy. But the NBA in-season tournament, I mean, the players seem motivated, but they just don't know what's going on. They're like, all right, we want to get to Vegas. But like, I don't fully understand what is happening right now. So it's just it's a weird time. Everybody's kind of got to learn it. NFL wise, so Thursday Night Football, we had Titans at Steelers. So Will Levis versus Kenny Pickett. Will got named the starter with Tannehill still being out last week. Rookie QBs versus Mike Tomlin at Acrisure/Heinz Field. 1-13 and 5-25 versus Steelers overall. So not a good look going in already for Will. But 10 penalties in the first quarter combined. It felt like there was a flag every single play. And the biggest change for the Steelers in this game, Matt Canada was not in the booth. He was on the sideline. And it felt like Matt Canada on the sideline turned into like Andy Reid. Because the first quarter, they drove down and scored right away. Like, it was like the Steelers fan base was going crazy during this game early on. But Will Levis, I mean, he looked poised the whole game, relaxed. He did good. At halftime, he was 12 for 17, 153 yards, and with a 98.4 QBR. So he was balling. Steelers' pass rush was crazy, and with a terrible O-line for the Titans, it was just a recipe for disaster. 10 QB hits and 4 sacks. T.J. Watt literally had a sack without a helmet on. So that just shows how the game went, really. But Deontay Johnson scored his first touchdown in this game. First touchdown since Week 17 of 2021. So Big Ben was the last one to throw him a touchdown. And he had gone 119 consecutive catches in 668 days without a touchdown. So it's crazy. But I think he's good now, but still definitely want to pray for him because it's a scary injury. Traylon Burks, with 2:06 left in the game. Titans play calling was a little stupid anyway, so I don't really know what was going on. But the Titans dialed up some like go ball at him. He goes to try to catch it, falls out of bounds, hits his head. and he just doesn't move. And he gets carted off, gives a thumbs up. And I think later on that night he ended up being able to move and stuff. But just a scary injury overall. That stuff is terrifying, not something to play around with. But good to see he's doing better, though. I think the Titans ended up getting the ball back right after that. And then they drive down, and Will Levis ends up throwing a pick to one of the linebackers. I can't remember his name. But up until that point, he had no pick. And, I mean, he honestly played really good until that last play. But, I mean, play calling wise, like, he just had to do something. He had to throw the ball up and hope for the best, really, and just try to fit one in a tight window. So that's what he did. Then NFL in Germany, we had Chiefs-Dolphins. This was 9:30 kickoff Eastern. So Tyreek Hill was his first game versus his former team since the trade. But the play of the game happened right before half. So Tyreek, as I mentioned, playing his team, like they're trying to get him the ball, get him going a little bit. He gets the ball, fumbles on like a bubble, and Mike Edwards, former Cat, picks it up. Is about to get tackled, so he just tosses it back, turns around, and just starts blocking, and then it goes for 6 points. So it was crazy. It ended up going up, getting the Chiefs up 21-0 at half. But and the Dolphins in the second half kind of battled a little bit, but the ending ended up being absolutely brutal for someone that wants points. It was 3rd and 10 with about 1:03 left. Tua threw it had to be miscommunication because that looked like the worst throw I've ever seen in my life. It was like the Tim Tebow meme. He just way underthrew it, and then the 4th down ended up just being a fumble, and he had to just go dive on it. But it was brutal for the ending. But the Dolphins, we mentioned they might be frauds. So they're 6-3 overall right now, but they're 5-0 versus teams with losing records, with a score of 234 to 125. But 0-3 versus teams with winning records, and they've lost that total 100 to 51. So their defense has not been terrible against these good teams, but they can't beat a good team. So it's a tough look for Dolphins fans, and I mean they kind of need one big win, and that I saw something like their last win versus a team with a winning record was like 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, it's a tough time. It's tough to argue it if you're a Dolphins fan, but I mean the Dolphins are fun to watch. It's just they can't get past like good teams. So the Texans beat the Buccaneers 39-37, but the story of the game was the number 2 overall pick CJ Stroud. Obviously he's a rookie right now. He went 30 for 42. 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks, and had a 147.8 passer rating. And so with that, he set the rookie record for passing yards and passing touchdowns in a game. He balled out. Like he's just fun to watch. Like if you're the Texans, you got to be ecstatic because you've got a young quarterback you just drafted, Tank Dell, rookie receiver, Dalton Schultz. I don't know how old he is, but he's not super old. At your tight end, like Damian Pierce, it's his 2nd year in the league. Obviously, he's been banged up, but and then you got a young head coach in his first year, so you got to be excited if you're in Houston right now. But Fairbairn gets hurt, their kicker, and so Dare Ogunbowale becomes the first non-kicker or punter to make a field goal in an NFL game since 2004. So he ends up making the field goal that ultimately wins them the game. So it was crazy. I mean, they ended up driving and scoring a touchdown to win it, but like that one is obviously a game changer, making that field goal there. So shout out to Dare. And then for the Vikings, they won 31-28. Obviously, Kirk Cousins got hurt last week. Jaron Hall gets the nod for the start. He ends up getting hurt. So who else is coming in? Josh Dobbs, the 3rd string. Cade's favorite volunteer of all time. He'd been traded like a week ago and didn't even know the plays before coming into this game. Jordan Addison after the game was like, this dude didn't even know the plays. He don't even know all the teammates yet. There was literally clips of him on the sideline working with the center, just trying to get snaps down just to kind of see like how each other like just kind of feel it out, and like he's literally working on the sideline, just trying to learn. Like he's literally just running a practice on the sideline while they're on defense. It's crazy. He went 20 for 30, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and he had 66 rushing yards and a touchdown. So you can't ask for a better performance out of a guy that has been on the team for a week. It's crazy. Like he after the game, he took like one of the social media guys' phones and was like, "Hey, I'd like to introduce myself, Vikings Nation. This is Josh Dobbs. My name is Josh." Like it's crazy. It's insane what he was able to do. Like Josh is on his 5th team since week 15 of last season. He didn't know his teammates, didn't know the playbook. It's wild. It's on some Johnny stuff. Not watching film. Like it's crazy what he was able to do. But so at that point, obviously Kirk is out, Jaren Hall is out. Josh, if he was to get hurt, Cam Akers was the emergency quarterback. Cam Akers ended up tearing his Achilles. So, also KJ Osborne got hurt. So Josh Dobbs was doing this with like Jordan Addison, Alexander Madison, no Jettas. It's a wild performance. It's crazy. It's crazy he was able to do this. Sunday Night Football was the Bills at Bengals. It was the first time Damar Hamlin had been back to the place of the incident. So it was a tough time. I mean, the ESPN did like some special on it and made like this little few minutes like clip before. But man, it's gonna be tough for him. And I heard the Bills and Bengals training staff or whatever, they went and got food the night before and like spent a lot of time together. So yeah, props to all of them. It's like amazing what they were able to do back in January for him. But he was listed as inactive tonight, so he wasn't able to play tonight. But the Bengals ended up winning, and I think for the Bengals, like if you're a Bengals fan, got to be optimistic because like it feels like the Bengals are all the way back, and it feels like with Joe Burrow being healthy, scary team. But Jamar got a little banged up, his back injury, so that was scary. But this game was kind of, I mean, the Bengals went up early, looked like the Bengals were just going to coast and win, and then Bills had all the momentum in the world, and Dalton Kincaid fumbled on what he was trying to hurdle, I guess, and that kind of shot him in the foot, and it was over from then. But Bengals got a big win, though. Big win for them. And then Monday Night Football, they gave us Chargers at Jets. Chargers dominated. So it was, I think it was the Jets just went, they had their first drive. They might have gone 3 and out, and then they punted, and the Chargers just returned the opening punt. So, like, from that point on, the vibes are bad in MetLife. But Keenan Allen had one of the most impressive catches of the season late in the game. So if you haven't seen that, go ahead and look that one up. It was crazy. But the Chargers just, they're hot. I think they're 4-4 now, and I think the Jets are also 4-4. But yeah, I mean, if the Jets want that whole Aaron Rodgers thing to happen, like they're gonna have to dial it in and win a couple of these games to make the playoffs for him to even make it worth it coming back. But yeah, Chargers are hot. Chargers look good. So Week 10 college football. We'll start out in Chicago at Wrigley Field. Iowa versus Northwestern. This is the one I mentioned last week. Had the lowest over-under in the history of football, 29.5, and the under hit. So Iowa won 10-7 in what was a snooze fest. Over 2 an SEC game. Texas A&M at number 10 Ole Miss. Ole Miss won 38-35. It was hilarious when they were showing the Lane Kiffin videos before. Just him and Jimbo and their like little rivalry that they have going on. Like Lane Kiffin, they showed a clip where he was like, "What a collection that a whole bunch of boosters that just give up money and just pay all this money for their team to be good. What a team that makes." And then they asked him if he was going to dress up as anything for Halloween. He said maybe Jimbo has a Joker outfit for me. So there's a little rivalry there, whether they want to admit it or not. But Ole Miss was kind of on a mission. They were going down the field, and they scored the touchdown to go up 21-0. Got called back for holding, went to go kick the field goal a couple plays later. The field goal got blocked and then returned for a touchdown. So it went from being 21-0 to 14-7 in just a couple minutes. Jackson Dart played phenomenal. One throw that he had, threw to Trey Harris on, I guess it was a fade, and Trey Harris had a one-handed catch falling out of bounds. One of the most impressive catches in college football this year. That one was probably better than the Keenan Allen one that I just mentioned. So, Trey Harris, what a game from him. I mean, he had 11 catches, 213 yards, and 1 touchdown in this game. So it was a crazy outing from him. But for some reason, A&M, they were in field goal range, and they're still dropping back and throwing the ball. There was 2 separate times that there should have been a pick there that would have sealed it. But Texas A&M ended up being able to line up for a field goal and kick the field goal, but they missed and lost 38-35. But I think this was the first game that Quinshon Judkins is officially back for Ole Miss. Had a great year last year, been inconsistent this year. He had 23 carries, 102 yards, 3 touchdowns in this one. So that's exactly what you want to see if you're Ole Miss there. Number 1 Ohio State went to Rutgers and had a scare. Buckeyes got out of there 35-16, but Rutgers was up 9-7 at half. Ohio State, the game completely shifted through one play. Ohio State had a pick six early in the third that was like 90 yards, and that kind of just did it. And they just controlled the entire second half from then, and that was kind of the story of the game. So Arkansas at Florida. Florida had their beautiful uniforms on, the black. I guess they were honoring veteran uniforms. They all said like different words on the back, like commitment, just like a whole bunch of different things. But the Razorbacks won 39-36 in overtime. Sunbelt Billy. So Billy Napier might be on the hot seat. I think he was like kind of fine. The seat was cool, not freezing cold or anything. But like this game is a terrible loss. Arkansas had 2 wins going into this game. You can't drop this one. And it was the first ever win for the Razorbacks in the Swamp. So, I don't even know what you say if you're an Arkansas fan. I mean, if they win out, obviously they can make a bowl. But it's a really, really bad loss for Florida at home. So, some of the big games. Number 23, Kansas State at number 7, Texas. Texas ended up scraping it out. They were up big early, looked dominant, and then they just blew the lead. And then it ends up going to overtime. The Longhorns won 33-30 in OT. And Kansas State, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to like win the game, end it there. But they go for it on like 4th and I think it was like 4th and goal from like 7 or 8, and they went for it, and nothing well happens there. But nothing good happens in that situation. They should have kicked it, tied it, continued to go on after battling like that, but that ended it there. Number 15, Notre Dame at Clemson. So I actually took Clemson. I had a feeling this was a game that Dabo wins after all the drama of last week. No Will Shipley for the Tigers. The Tigers got it done 31-23 in this one. Notre Dame, off the rip, they looked like they were just going to go in, handle business. They went up 3 early, scored on their first drive. But as I mentioned, no Will Shipley. Phil Maffa said it's all right. So running game was fine. He played great. Clemson offense was crazy in the first half. They were up 24-9 at half. So this game's got to be just promising for Clemson because that offense looked good. The defense looked amazing. They had a pick 6 right before half also. So yeah, this is a very promising game for the Tigers. But Dabo Swinney now has the most wins in Clemson football history. So shout out to Dabo. I'm a fan of Dabo. I know a lot of people say he's cringy, whatever, but Dabo, what a legend. Number 12, Missouri at number 2, Georgia. No Brock Bowers still. Me and Cade both picked Georgia to kind of handle this one. But Missouri showed out. I mean, they played good. Georgia got the W 30-21. But I was actually in Georgia for this game. I didn't end up going to the game, but I watched it with a bunch of Georgia fans. And that was like the most shock I've seen out of Georgia fans because of what Cody Schrader was doing to their defense. So Cody Schrader was, I think he was D2 last year, transferred up and walked on to Missouri, I think, and he balled out. He ran for over 100 yards, scored 1 or 2 touchdowns. But you could just tell by the Georgia fans' like reactions It's not every day that this happens to a Georgia defense. They don't just get ran on like that. But a big man interception happened. So late in the game, I think it was 27-21 Georgia, and I can't remember the lineman's name, but a defensive lineman ends up jumping a route, basically. So there was like a drag route from like a tight end, and he just like kind of reads the quarterback's eyes, reads Cook's eyes, and just picks it and nearly scores. Unfortunately, got called back for illegal block in the back or something. But big man interception, it was sick. I know that guy is just thriving right now. And then he got to throw on the shoulder pads for that one. So shout out to that lineman. So Bedlam, this year it matched its name. So number 9, Oklahoma, at number 22, Oklahoma State. This was the last time this game will be played annually. The second longest uninterrupted FBS rivalry series. It had gone for 114 years, and this was the last one. I kind of thought Oklahoma would go in there. I mean, I didn't think they would destroy them, but I thought this would be comfortable. Maybe they win by a touchdown or so, but a comfortable win. But Oklahoma State got it done. So go Pokes. 27-24 in a great defensive stand in the end where they stopped Drake Stoops from getting the first down there. But Ollie Gordon was by far Oklahoma State's best player offensively. Ollie Gordon the second, 33 carries, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, it was wild. And then, I mean, Oklahoma had a chance late, but then there was the fumble with a little under 8 left where I think it just like hit Dylan Gabriel's knees and then just bounced back under the center, and that was kind of it from there. But they could just never get it going in the second half, really. That was kind of the story of it. But, yeah, big win for Oklahoma State. I mean, they went from losing a game at home to, I think it was South Alabama. They lost like 33-9. They got killed at home to beating number 9 Oklahoma. So it's crazy. It's an impressive win. Then we had number 5 Washington at number 20 USC. We both predicted that this would just be a shootout. The final was 52-42 Washington. We've mentioned the flea flicker a couple times. Fake flea flicker last week. There was another flea flicker last week, a normal one. This was another variation of a flea flicker. I think it was a jet sweep to a reverse, and on the reverse, he pitched it back to Caleb Williams. I can't remember who it was in the play, but Caleb Williams throws it downfield, and they end up scoring a wide-open touchdown right before half. So it was an exciting play, fun to watch. But Caleb Williams' fumble late in the game leads to the Washington lead right before half, 35-28. Should have been 28-28 going in, but that kind of shifted all the momentum. And Caleb Williams, after the game, there's a video of him going and like jumping in the stands with his mom and like crying. Tough to see. I mean, it's an emotional game. Feel bad for the guy, but yeah. I mean, last week their playoff hopes ended. This week, I think it was just kind of get a statement win, knock somebody else out, feel good win, and then they couldn't get it done this time either. But Caleb Williams with an all-time quote after the game. He said, "I want to go home and cuddle with my dog and watch some shows." So shout out to Caleb Williams for that. Just all-time dude. And Alex Grinch, the USC defensive coordinator, used to be, he got fired. I think this was like Sunday morning, so like right after it. The next morning he gets fired. So I don't know if it's a Lincoln thing, but like they'll never have a good defense. Like Lincoln Riley, that's just what he does. I don't know what it is, but it's just something with him. It's cursed. He can't have a good defense. But then College Game Day, a.k.a. the Saban Bowl, number 14 LSU at number 8 Alabama. We both took Alabama, me and Cade, and Alabama won 42-28. Both quarterbacks just looked elite in the first half. Running, passing. It was a great first half for both of them. 21-21 at half. This is exactly what the nation wanted for this game. And then the game didn't even have a turnover in it until the fourth quarter. So it was just both teams clicking offensively. Defensively, they would have a couple stops, but I mean defensively it was kind of non-existent. But Jaden Daniels got hit pretty hard in the fourth quarter, which resulted in him being out for a game with concussion protocol on a crazy hit. That was wild. So then after that, LSU just couldn't really not the same team. There was no threat of a run with Nussmeier. Just from then on, it was kind of Alabama was just coasting. But Alabama big win, 42-28, and I'll mention them in a little bit as they have an absolutely massive game coming up this week. So for Cade, I don't have a lot to say because this was UConn. UConn football is basically like a fever dream to me, and UConn is playing at number 17 Tennessee, and I didn't watch this game because there was like crazy games at 12 o'clock. I kept looking at it on my phone to see every time I looked at my phone, it felt like there was a touchdown for Tennessee, but the Vols won 59-3. Ramel Keaton touchdown was wild. He couldn't have been more open. That play was embarrassing. If you're UConn, it was it was 7-3 at the time, I think, and nobody was within 45 yards of him. So that was a crazy one. But Nico Yamaleava, Cade, absolute truther for him. He loves him. He got in and scored his first collegiate touchdown. And the Vols, if you just look at the stats, the Vols had 375 passing yards, 275 rushing. So they balled out. I mean, not a lot to say. Obviously, 59-3, it's UConn. But big win for the Vols as they have a huge game coming up this week on the road. So Kentucky, we played at Mississippi State. Our last win at Mississippi State was in 2008 before this. And I picked us to win, but we ended up dominating. We won 24-3 in a game where it was never really in doubt. So Mississippi State were their throwbacks in this. This was awesome. In this game, it fit. The first play, first kickoff, there's a fight. There was 85 fights. Refs started getting into it, getting into the fights, and they were like, dude, chill out, fellas. So that was funny. But Devin Leary balled out again. I don't know, it was another week of where we actually ran a fast-paced, quick-pace offense, and he plays really well. So I think that's the recipe going forward, obviously. The last 2 weeks we've gone fast, but we were averaging the slowest offense in the country. But Devin Leary ended up leaving the game, I think it was early fourth, maybe late third, with something in his eye. So I don't know, still don't know if everything is okay there. I hope so, but I'm hoping it's not anything concussion-wise because we will get absolutely throttled this weekend if we don't have Devin Leary. But, Devin Leary played really well. And our defense forced 7 3-and-outs with 2 yards or less. It was crazy. I mean, the game started out with a 3-and-out, and then we went down and scored. But, the defense was impressive in this one. This is Mark Stoops' first SEC West road win at Kentucky. So he had never had one until then. And we finally broke that streak of losing in Stark Vegas. This was the lowest points allowed in an SEC road game for Kentucky since November 17th, 1979. So it was an impressive win. And I think if you're, a lot of our fan base just couldn't figure out a way to be happy about this. I don't know why. But if you can't be happy about this one, I don't know what's wrong with you. People were just trying to say, this is a game you should win. Not a good second half. We only scored 3 points in the second half. I couldn't care less. This is an impressive win. 24-3 on the road is impressive. I don't care who they were missing offensively, what it was. I'm happy with that win. Happy to take that one back home after a 3-game skid. As I mentioned early on in the podcast, the Rangers had led 3-1 in the World Series last week when we did the podcast. Rangers ended up winning Game 5, 5-0. So that ended up doing it. This game, it was a fun watch. There was no offense until the 7th inning, but other than that, the ending of that game was crazy for the Rangers. No team had ever gone 11-0 on the road in postseason till now. The Rangers won their first World Series victory ever, so it took 63 years for them, but they got it done. Rangers hadn't been to the playoffs in 7 years, and they had 6 consecutive losing seasons. And it's weird because their weakness in the entire season was the bullpen, and that flipped and became their strength in the postseason. So it's crazy. And I bet for Mets fans, you've got to be just crushed considering Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom got their rings, but it wasn't for you. But it was impressive from the Rangers. Just road dominance. So Corey Seager won the World Series MVP. He is the first player in MLB history to win World Series MVPs in both leagues. So he won NL with the Dodgers, AL with the Rangers. And Aroldis Chapman, Reds fans know about that. So he has been on the teams that have ended the longest World Series droughts in MLB history. So the Cubs in 2016, which was 108 years, and then the Rangers, which was 62 years. So Aroldis Chapman is just the king of ending bad streaks. Will Smith, he's the first player to win 3 straight World Series on 3 different teams. So I guess it was the Braves, and then the Astros, and then now the Rangers. So wherever he goes next year, bet heavy on that team to win the World Series. Will Smith is the secret. But Bruce Bochy, already a Hall of Famer, already a baseball legend, but now he becomes the 6th manager in MLB history to win 4 World Series trophies in his time. So, impressive outing from Bruce himself. Like I said, Hall of Famer, and just shout out to the Rangers for getting it done. Just cool to see. First time, just like the Nuggets in the finals last year, anytime a franchise wins their first, it's super cool to see. But into Week 11 college football, I'm just mentioning this game for the simple fact of the coolest uniforms of the week, possibly. Michigan State at number 1 Ohio State. This is the game that Ohio State will be pulling out the all-gray uniforms. So we mentioned this back when they released them, like right before the season, and they're finally getting pulled out. So Michigan State will be throttled in this game, and Ohio State's going to look good doing it, to say the least. So to the other games, number 8 Alabama at Kentucky. So I will be in attendance to this one. Do I think Kentucky wins? No. Alabama, my prediction is 34-17 Alabama. Like I said, if Devin Leary doesn't play, this game will be absolutely brutal to watch. But I hope our offense is able to do, like 17 I'd be, like, that's not, like, Ole Miss I think scored 10 on Alabama. If we can score 17, I'll take it. I just want a little bit of offense in this one. Number 3, Michigan at number 10, Penn State. Without what is game day, this would have been game day. But I actually think Penn State gets it done. It's at home. I don't know the last time that it happened where, like, okay, so obviously Michigan's season starts this week. This is when they finally play a real team. I don't know when the last time it was that the big 3 in the East, like, tied. So, like, if Penn State was to win this, and then Michigan beat Ohio State, it would be Michigan beat Ohio State beat Penn State beat Michigan. I don't know when the last time that happened was, but I'm really rooting for it because it's just chaos. So I have Penn State winning 23-17 in Happy Valley. So Miami at number 4, Florida State. Obviously, this isn't the greatest game of the week, but it's the battle for the Florida Cup, so you got to love it. Miami leads the all-time series of this 35-32. And since the 1980s, I think it's been nearly every single time these teams have matched up, there's been nearly all of them have had both teams ranked. Some have had one, but there's only been like a couple where neither have been ranked. So it's just a historic battle. But I've got Florida State in this one. I mean, score-wise, like obviously you should say they should probably put up a ton of points, but Pitt held them to 24 last week. But I think Florida State bounces back. I'm going Florida State 41-14 in this one. Then we have number 13, Tennessee, traveling to Como, to number 14, Missouri. So this will be a tough game for both squads. I mean, Tennessee is the favorite here, but I think Missouri gets it done. I think Missouri bounces back. Tennessee, we've talked about it multiple times on this podcast. Tennessee, for no reason, just destroys Missouri. But I think this is the one where they get it done. So I think Missouri flips that script and wins at home 38-28. Then we have College Game Day. Number 9, Ole Miss at number 2, Georgia. Georgia leads the all-time series between this 32-10, so not a good matchup, as history shows. But Ole Miss won the last matchup that was played in 2016, 45-14. So they dominated. Georgia needs their lick back. Ole Miss has a top 15 scoring offense, as every Lane Kiffin team does. But Georgia has the sixth best scoring defense. So one of them's got to give. And I think the one that gives is Ole Miss. So I think Georgia gets this done 34-20 at home. They shut up the naysayers. They win comfortably, and they flip that 1-2 with Ohio State next week in the playoff ranking. So to wrap this up, I mentioned college basketball. I mentioned Kentucky. There's a thing that's happened with Kentucky basketball. So up until about 2019, 2020, I thought Rupp Arena's court was absolutely beautiful. It had the Rupp Arena logo. It was just pretty, all that. But then we threw bumper stickers, just huge blue rectangles on the court, and they weren't even proportional. Like, they didn't match. Like, one was at the bottom, and then one was at the top, and they wouldn't match. It was just uneven, and our entire fan base hated it. I didn't see one person that liked it. And they announced today that that will be changed. So I will throw up a picture of those, of the court. It says K Woods Court on it. The checkerboard is gone from the court, so that's one big notice. But now we have the state outline behind the logo. This is the first time that's ever happened for us. So kind of how Texas does, Indiana does it. They do it in white. This is actually something, it's kind of wild to think about, but I mentioned it like 2 weeks ago to my dad that I think it'd be cool if we had the state outline because we're the state's college, and I mean, it's done. So this court is absolutely beautiful in my eyes. I love it. Nothing I'd change on this one. It has the new Rupp Arena like logo kind of, because Rupp Arena used to just be like a square, and now it's got a big point on the front. It looks real like futuristic, so it's got that on it. But it's absolutely beautiful. It was time for a change, and I feel like this is a new era of Kentucky basketball. We changed the uniforms last year, but this team, everything about it just feels different. It feels like Kentucky basketball is back. So I'm excited with the court. I'm excited with the team. This will be fun. This will be a fun year going forward. But yeah, let me know y'all's thoughts on the court there, and let me know what games y'all are looking forward to this weekend. Big weekend for NFL too. Unfortunately, we have the Thursday night matchup of the Panthers-Bears, so that'll be brutal. But outside of that, it's a big NFL weekend. We will be able to tell a lot about who teams are. Obviously, Cowboys lost at the Eagles this past week, so I think it's important for the Cowboys to bounce back. Eagles got to continue what they're doing, and Jalen Hurts needs to stay healthy by all means. But yeah, it's an important weekend for college football, college basketball officially now, and NFL. So everything is in full effect. It's an amazing time of the year, and Thanksgiving is coming up. You can't ask for more. So let me know what games y'all are excited for this next week, this weekend in general. So thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the games this weekend. Have a great rest of the week. Be safe and peace.